I'm Tom A Kaze, and this is Mr. Pickles. And can you smell what RevEx is cooking? Are you gonna bark for us? So I'm Tom A Kaze. I'm half Chinese, half Japanese, American from Buffalo, New York. My dad was a chef and cook at a restaurant that he owned, Americanized Chinese food restaurant. And being a scientist, a lot of recipes I develop are there's a level of research that has been done with it. The last bit is haven't quite tested it, but I'm exploring whether singing could help the food taste better.
So today I'm decided to cook a salt and pepper shrimp scampi, which is actually a recipe that I've adapted from a Chinese recipe. As it's different in that I take the shell off because I want to be able to serve it with like fork and knife thing too. I'm using the shrimp shells that I peel from here with bonito broth flakes to make a broth that I'm going to use for a risotto. The ingredients that you put into it can be whatever you want. If you think that the bonito broth will work, why not? That flavor is very unique because it has a very smoky taste, and hopefully we can get that smoky taste out of there. And peeling shrimp to the point where you're fast at it, but you're keeping all the tails, because what you need to do is you need to devein this afterwards. And sweet and sour shrimp, as I'm pretty certain that everybody can relate to, needs to be butterflied. So like right now I'm just like deveining. I don't usually devein. I usually have another like fork or toothpick to devein it, get the shrimp guts out of it, and we're gonna butterfly that. So the reason why I do it this way and not have the shells on with the salt and pepper is that this will cook with surface area, so it will cook faster. You know, just because the recipe is given to you doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. Like there's creative freedom. Gordon Ramsay stresses as in if you master technique. Like you don't have to have a lot of creativity. It doesn't have to be something that like, oh my God, but like if you know how to bring elements of other cooking into a technique, that's yours. You own it. This is all prep work for the risotto I'm gonna make. You can use onions, but I choose shallots because it's like a cross between a garlic and an onion in a way, and it's got a little bit sweeter flavor. So whatever you have in mind, like I would give it a try, as long as you know the kinetics of how fast it cooks. You know, it's not just all just random. You can't throw everything in at once because that's not how it works. And then the way that I cook risotto is, I do add cheese, but it may not be as much cheese as a lot of people expect. I don't do powder. I do shaved cheese at the end. It will still give a very interesting effect, but if I add cheese as a powder form, it just becomes too viscous. I can't do anything with it. We're gonna now proceed to making the stock so that you can see all the shrimp shells that we had peeled before. This is bonito flakes. It's in its Japanese writing and everything. It's a dried tuna shavings that we can use as a stock. And we're just gonna use a combination of the two, which will get us to the flavor faster. I find that usually you start getting some decent flavor in about half an hour, 45 minutes, or if necessary, but we will start losing some volume in water too. But because it's so fluffy, I can measure it out, but it won't actually like, a cup measurement of fluffy material is very inconsistent to reproduce. It just doesn't follow any packing order that is that predictable. But usually I think for every pound of shrimp, it's usually a cup of water. And then this, I go with the starting point of a cup of bonito flakes per water, but it's rarely you'll ever get a case of it's too strong. So we're just going to load this up, and I'm going to fill with water, and then we're going to get the stock started. So I'm going to just put that in, and I love bonito. This also sometimes used to serve with like tofu because like it has like a very like interesting like texture, right? You can say it like kind of does this own moving thing. But we will be straining all this material too. Like we are only interested in the flavor, not actually eating all this fiber. And of course, we're not going to eat the shrimp shells. That's the whole reason why we peeled it. So I'm going to get a spoon from over here. And then we're going to now turn this on. And I'm just going to let this cook. So submerge all this. And then we can check on it. And with broth, we've removed the shells. We've increased the size of it. Here we have what it looks like. Next step, we're actually going to combine the salt and pepper ingredients into the shrimp. I'm putting the egg in because I'm going to be adding salt and pepper, and I need it to bind so that when I put it in for the pan frying, it will actually pan fry. So, okay, so I'm just gonna pour this in, and I'm gonna mix. Put this over here. And then, I'm going to clean my hands and then add the salt and pepper. So notice that the shrimp has been butterflied. You can see how the shape is, right? So that's going to be able to be cooked pretty easily now. But it's good to clean your hands. All right, and I'm going to dry my hands because the actual way I learned how to measure this is you'll find it strange. So we had 3 pounds of shrimp here. For 2 pounds of shrimp, the recipe that worked well for me is basically a pinch size of 5 pinch sizes of salt per each 2 pounds. So, but basically this is number 3. That's 4.5. So we got 3 more to go. 7.5. Okay, I'm going to add pepper. You can use normal pepper. This is actually very fancy pepper. This is white pepper. I'm gonna just go with I'm gonna go with 3, okay? Because this is pretty strong stuff. So now I'm going to mix again, get a nice even coat of everything. We're not making kimchi, so any red chili pepper will work. I usually use normal butter, but I don't find it doesn't make a big difference to me. We need an oil source is basically what we need, okay? This over here. And I'm gonna put some garlic in. I'm gonna actually turn this on first. All right, so now I'm just gonna get this kind of going. All right, whatever. And I'm gonna add shallots. So we have scallions, garlic, butter, and now we're gonna add the shrimp. Right. Now shrimp cooks fairly fast, so I'm going to have to get all these in. Now, the rule of thumb is if it's cooking too fast, lift it off the heat. So notice it sizzles less, right? Mm-hmm. So this is controlling heat. I usually cook with a rather high heat, especially with these electric burners. Gas, usually you have, like electric will come on and you'll notice this will come on and off. It's actually probably more challenging to cook with at least I find it a little bit more challenging. But right now I'm just we're cooking the shrimp first, and then we'll be cooking the risotto later. So because the shrimp cooks relatively fast, as you can see, it's already changing color. So, and then I probably gonna have to do this in about 3 different batches. Now I can be a little bit fancy here, and I can even add wine. This will give it a little bit of sugar flavor to it. You obviously pick a wine that you like to drink. This is Pinot Grigio. And now what you don't want is you don't want to have it stop and just serve it like this, because this still has alcohol. You want the alcohol to burn out. So now when it is cooked, everything will be orange instead of this clear color. As we go here, I usually prefer, especially when we get into risotto, I prefer stainless steel pans. But right now we're just cooking the shrimp, and I think it's actually cooking pretty well. We're ready to get started with the risotto here, and we have our rice over here, authentic Italian rice. It's called obro rice. Okay, and then what we have here is we have 3 stainless pans that we're going to use to cook the rice, and it's all dependent. How much rice you can cook is really dependent on the surface area of the pan. Actually, I'm going to use all the shots. All right, so now I'm going to add the rice. Once we get the butter to melt, I'm going to even it out like that, and then these guys are still working. But what I want to do is I want to add, you can only add as much rice as to coat the surface area of the pan. So I don't want to overfill it. But basically this step is basically called toasting the rice. And then this is still going, but it should be pretty ready. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cook the rice until it's translucent is the goal. Pretty good. All right. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to now get this to be pearly white, basically. It's white right now. We want it to have like a translucency to it. So I'm going to, usually we don't do 3 pans at once, but since I'm cooking for 8 people tonight, I decided that we're going to do this. So notice that but this one's ready for wine now. Notice that they're quite pearly. All right, and give this one more time here. We just had enough stock. I did change pots with the stock, but this is actually, ideally I'd like to have a little bit more fluid, but it should have, like when you shake it, it should move, and it does that, so this is good. So now, I haven't added any cheese at this point. I've added the mushrooms, and I'm gonna add this is white truffle oil. So this is, you could either add butter as a finishing step or add a fancy oil. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm going to just add a fancy oil and on top of this. And I've turned everything off now because it's, even though there's gonna be enough heat that the cheese will melt. So we're going to now put the cheese on. And now I prefer the shaved cheese so that they just basically layers like so. And we're just going to add that on. And so notice that, look at the first pan, you can see that there is enough heat on the thing that you can see that the cheese is like reacting, right? That's melting, right? So this is more than enough. So this is, everything's all set, and now we're going to add the shrimp on. And we're just going to serve this. I'm going to break it into basically equal portions of 3. Well, I mean, like, I'm not going to plate it. You're going to come and get it. Yeah. Normally you would like plate it on a plate that's a pasta bowl, as in this is not a pasta dish. This a pasta, like if it's a mound, it would go into a flat shape. That's how you test usually like the consistency of what the risotto should be. So, but I think it'll still be pretty good. So I'm happy with it. I'm gonna have to finish it off. Okay, and voila. Oh, hang on, I played it a little bit better. Yep.
Alright, we're doing the smoking.
Yeah, no, this was really good. The shrimp was very well made. I think usually when I think of shrimp, it's like all encased and it's all small. But I think the fact that it was like out, it was more puffed up, and also I think it had a nice spicy level. It wasn't too spicy, but it was enough. There was a kick to it. All right.
You are.
Pardon me.
God, it's still really fucking good, Tom.
Okay, so I'm gonna try this.
Alright, I think that's enough.
Oh wow. That's right.
This is really good. I need to eat some more. Cheese. I love